So we're scouting this property here, and we just had a question come in on my email from one of the YouTube videos, and people were asking about, fencing food plots with a screen, some sort of screen that you can grow. What's the best, and what do I recommend? Well, when it comes to this, there's a lot of options, but what I'm familiar with is Egyptian wheat and some kind of hybrid sorghum screens that you can plant. Then you have other options such as switchgrass. You have miscanthus, which I'm not familiar with, but I don't have any desire to plant that. I really don't plant a lot of switchgrass either. It is needed and can be used in some instances, but in this particular video, we're talking about Egyptian wheat, blends of Egyptian wheat to have a structure to hold that Egyptian wheat up. So my recommendation with this is fencing, food plots, just creating screens in general are very effective in making that food plot look smaller, enticing deer to enter that food plot because they can't see past it. If it's a big field, you section that food plot off. You can cut openings in the wall that you create, and deer will use those openings. We've done it many times with just a weed whacker. You cut a 3 foot, 4 foot wide opening within that Egyptian wheat, and deer will use it. It'll look like a cattle trail going through that opening. You can do that to cut trails past your tree stands to where deer use that to where it can give you a close enough bow shot. Now, the way to do this is not a lot of people, but I'd say it's 50-50 with Egyptian wheat and switchgrass. And here's the difference, and here's the reason why. Now, switchgrass is great because it is a perennial. It grows back every year. When it snows, it will knock it down, but then when the snow melts, it'll pop right back up. Now, screens with switchgrass it takes a few years to grow, 2-3 years to grow, and it's going to grow about 5-6 feet tall. It's very thin. It's a grass, so it grows very thin. And even when you grow that, sometimes you're planting, say, 6 foot, 10 foot wide screens. You can still see it. I've seen it to where people grow it, and you can still see through that a lot of times. Now, if you're creating bedding, trying to enclose big fields, convert it to bedding or something, then switchgrass would be great. It's really the only option because it's a perennial that can withstand harsh conditions. It'll pop up and you'll be good to go. Now, when we're strictly talking about food plots, just section that food plot off, dividing the food plots up to where it makes it look smaller for the deer to entice them to use it more during daytime hours. We're using Egyptian wheat. We grow it about 10 feet wide. You can't see through it. 10 to 15 feet seems to be the ticket. You want to use roughly about 10 acres or 10 pounds per acre of seed. So with that, if you make it too thick, you're going to have thin stalks. If you make it too thin, then you don't have the structure to hold itself together. So when you do get heavy winds, a lot of snow, it doesn't fall over. So you have to find that perfect balance. Typically, when you buy the blend from a company, or if you buy straight Egyptian wheat, we used to buy, we buy 50-pound bags. We also buy some from Domain, which is called Incognito. We use Incognito, and that creates a 10-foot wide, 12-foot wide barrier that you cannot see through. It's a mixture, so you have different structures in there that will hold itself together. But I don't care what's in the bag that you buy, what blend it is, what it says on the box, what it says in the bag, what it says on the bucket. Yeah, it can grow 10 feet tall, but the key with Egyptian wheat is you have to make sure the soil is perfect, not perfect, but close to perfect, to where you just have high nutrients in the soil, a good pH level, so those stalks have the ability to grow very strong to create good stability. With that, they need high nitrogen and potassium. Potassium will give you that full strength stalk to where when it does rain or snow, it does not flop over. And you have to add these nutrients. You can apply a foiler feed to this, micronutrients. Foiler fertilizer works very well but my go-to is Egyptian wheat. I plant it, I fertilize at planting, typically with a triple 19 or such. I come back in 30 days later, I'll hit it with triple 13 again, or triple 19 again. And then I'll let that go for one more month, and then I'll come back in and spray micronutrients and a foliar fertilizer on top of that. And that usually gets me pretty good. Y'all get good growth out of it, 10, 12, 15 feet tall, and stability wise, it's perfect. It does not flop over when you get heavy snows. Now, leading into the winter months, when it does snow a lot, the Egyptian wheat is going to die off and it's going to fall over. But at that time, hunting season is over, so who cares if it falls over? You're not creating bedding. Nobody's going to create bedding with Egyptian wheat. It doesn't make sense because it's short-lived. And it's going to be so thick, the deer's not going to want to move through it. They're not going to want to bed in it. So using Egyptian wheat and saying that it's garbage for a screen is 100% false, because who cares if it falls over after hunting season? It's a screen. You're not using it for bedding. For bedding, I wouldn't use Egyptian wheat. I would use something else. I would drop trees. I would plant switchgrass or something else besides Egyptian wheat. So for the perfect food plot screen, Egyptian wheat works great for the majority of deer hunters in the world, because yeah, you have to plant it every year and it dies off in the winter, but who cares? Hunting season's over. Next year, you build up that organic matter, you build up those nutrients in the soil. It's good green manure to add back into that soil. For the following year, you replant it. It's beautiful to look at. It grows tall. It has good structure. You can walk beside it. Deer don't eat it. You can walk beside it, hide yourself, create those openings for food plots, and you guys have good success. Any questions, post them down below. I'll see you guys on the next video.